Over the past week, there's been a mounting sense of confusion, anxiety, and quiet distress among pensioners across the country. It's not just a handful of people feeling unsettled, it's thousands. Maybe you've seen the whispers of it in the news, had a quick word with a neighbor about something odd they heard, or dropped by your local citizens' advice center only to be met with raised eyebrows and some vague concern. Or perhaps, like many others, you've simply been sitting at home trying to make sense of a worrying new alert from HMRC that seems to have come out of nowhere, an alert that focuses on savings, one that has the potential to deeply affect people who, up until now, believed they were doing everything right. This isn't the kind of story being blared from the 6 o'clock news. It's not been plastered across front pages with big bold headlines. Instead, it's been quietly rolled out invisibly. A few lines buried in official updates, slipped into online documents, and left for unsuspecting people to discover by accident. And yet, it's not a small issue. For many pensioners, it's a seismic shift. A real, tangible change in the way the system treats their savings, those modest pots of money carefully set aside for emergencies, rainy days, or simply for peace of mind. What makes this all the more frustrating is the fact that it's hitting exactly the kind of people who have always played by the rules, those who scrimped and saved, who lived within their means, who took pride in their independence, and who hoped for a bit of comfort in retirement without punishment. Now, that very act of financial responsibility is being quietly turned against them. The source of this concern is a recent alert issued by HMRC, a message that connects directly to how savings are factored into means-tested benefits. Specifically, it affects things like pension credit, housing benefit, and council tax support. If your savings have crept above the £3,000 threshold, yes, that's right, just £3,000, then you might be at risk of losing some, or in extreme cases, all of your current benefit entitlements. And to be perfectly clear, we're not talking about people with secret investments or luxury savings accounts. We're talking about everyday individuals who've maybe received a small inheritance, a redundancy payment, or who've just done the sensible thing and tucked away a bit of money for when it's needed most. This change hasn't been communicated loudly. In fact, the government hasn't made much noise about it at all. There's been no mass mail-out, no personal notification letters landing on doorsteps with detailed explanations. But the implications are very real. Behind the scenes, a significant tightening of the system is underway. HMRC and the DWP are stepping up their efforts to cross-check data, automate reviews, and reassess cases that might no longer fit within the increasingly narrow rules. What many don't realize is that their financial data is now more accessible to government departments than ever before. Your bank balances, savings accounts, even premium bonds, these are no longer invisible or private when it comes to assessing benefits. Sophisticated digital systems can now spot inconsistencies, automatically flag accounts that breach limits, and trigger reassessments, all without you even knowing it's happening until the impact lands on your doorstep. One of the more controversial aspects of this process involves the idea of deemed income. This means that even if your savings aren't actively generating interest, because let's face it, most regular savings accounts are still offering very poor returns, the government can still assume you're earning income from that money. That imaginary income is then factored into your benefit calculations, which can lead to deductions. So, despite the money just sitting there, unused and untouched, you could be penalized for having it. Understandably, this leaves many pensioners feeling bewildered, frustrated, and frankly betrayed. These are not benefit cheats or tax dodgers. These are people who've worked hard, paid into the system, and asked for very little in return. This situation becomes even more troubling when you consider how little the thresholds have changed over time. The £3,000 limit was set years ago, and in today's economy it hardly stretches far at all. Think about a broken boiler, a dental emergency, or simply rising grocery costs. Having a small cushion of savings can make the difference between coping and falling into crisis. Yet, under current rules, going even a few £100s above that outdated figure can result in an automatic assumption that you're earning enough to manage without as much help. And that's before we factor in the emotional toll. Many pensioners now live in fear of reassessments they don't understand, letters they weren't expecting, or decisions that seem to come from nowhere and can take months to challenge. Let's not forget the human impact. One gentleman from Leeds recently shared his story. He received a letter demanding 6 months of bank statements after a minor increase in his account balance. The increase was due to a refund, nothing shady or dishonest, just a company refunding a payment in error, but it was enough to trigger an investigation. He spent weeks gathering paperwork, making phone calls, and losing sleep. Another woman, a retired nurse in Brighton, received a small inheritance from her late mother, just £5,000. She placed it into a main account with the intention of using it gradually for some much-needed home repairs. Within weeks, her housing benefit was slashed. She hadn't even touched the money yet. It's these stories that show just how detached the system has become from real life. On paper, everything might look neat. Income thresholds, savings calculations, automated systems, but reality isn't so clear-cut. People's lives are messy. Money doesn't always come in tidy, predictable patterns. Yet the rules apply as if they do, and the consequences are being felt most acutely by those least able to absorb the shock. And when you add up all the extra pressures, rising utility bills, soaring food prices, higher council tax, it becomes clear that even a small drop in benefit payments can be catastrophic. We're not talking about luxury items being out of reach. We're talking about essentials, keeping the lights on, the heating running, the cupboard stocked with food. So what can be done? First, it's important to stay calm and informed. Having savings isn't a crime. You're allowed to prepare for the future, and you're allowed to have a safety net. But you do need to be aware of where the thresholds lie and how your money is being viewed by the benefit system. Speaking to a professional through UK Citizens Advice or another local support group can make a huge difference. They can walk you through what counts, what doesn't, and what options might be available. For example, certain types of accounts like ISAs or pension-linked savings might be treated differently in assessments. It's not about hiding money, it's about managing it smartly and legally, making sure you're not punished for being prudent. If you do receive a letter from HMRC or the DWP, don't ignore it. Respond promptly and keep a detailed record of all your correspondence. And if a decision is made that you believe is unfair, challenge it. Ask for a mandatory reconsideration. Request a breakdown of how they reached their conclusion. Often, the system is not only automated but also based on assumptions that can be challenged with the right evidence. People have successfully overturned decisions simply by showing receipts or explaining one-off deposits. It's your right to ask questions and seek clarification. Finally, this issue highlights a broader need for reform. We need a benefit system that supports, not punishes, that's transparent, fair, and designed with real people in mind. The digital tools may be more powerful now, but that doesn't mean compassion and common sense should be left behind. Pensioners deserve peace of mind, not panic. They deserve to be treated with respect, not suspicion. And they deserve clear, honest communication, not hidden alerts that undermine trust. If you've experienced something like this, if you've faced a reassessment, had benefits reduced due to savings, or are simply unsure about how your finances might impact your support, share your story. Talk to others, connect with advisors, and most importantly, don't suffer in silence. The more we speak out, the more pressure we apply for change, because no one should be left behind, especially not those who have already given so much.